meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. All council members are present. Welcome to our guests and visitors. We provide an opportunity for the public to address the City Council on any agenda item or during the hearing of visitors portion of the agenda. On items other than public hearings, speakers will be allotted 1 3-minute presentation regardless of the number of agenda items the speaker wishes to address. If you're here to speak and have not filled out a registration card, please see the City Secretary staff at the registration table outside of the auditorium so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation, and staff will distribute those to council. If you're unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item of business is to consider the minutes of the May 17, 2022 regular City Council meeting and revised May 18, 2022 special City Council meeting. Special City Council budget retreat. These May 17, 2022 minutes were provided in your meeting packet, and the revised May 18th minutes were placed at your seat. Are there any corrections? Nope. If not, those will stand as approved. And our next item of business is to present a proclamation to Dr. Linda Livingston, the president of Baylor University. And I think that we are all going to come down for this presentation. It is my honor to get to read this proclamation today as council comes down. It's been a real joy to get to partner with Dr. Livingstone on so many different matters. It has been a great, just a beautiful partnership between the city and Baylor University. And as our city seeks to grow and thrive, and Baylor University seeks to grow and thrive in every aspect, we're better together, and that is so represented in the partnership between our two institutions. So with that, it's my great honor to read this. I, Dylan Meek, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Waco, do hereby proclaim June 1st, 2022 as Dr. Linda Livingstone Day in the city of Waco, and urge the people of Waco to join with the city council, city staff, and me in recognizing the 5th anniversary of Dr. Livingstone's leadership and contributions as the president of Baylor University. She's a strong voice for the role of higher education and serves on several boards, councils, and task forces, including the boards of the Baylor College of Medicine, Capital Southwest Industrials, Waco Industrial Foundation, and the Independent Colleges and Universities of Texas, Inc., the Task Force on Higher Education and Opportunity, and the AGB Council of Presidents. In addition, she serves as the vice chair of the Big 12 Conference Board of Directors and as the secretary of the Board of Directors for the American Council on Education, on the NCAA Division I Board of Directors, and the NCAA Board of Governors. So you're busy. The City of Waco expresses our sincere appreciation and thanks to Dr. Livingstone for her distinguished service and continued leadership and creativity. Congratulations, and we wish you continued success. And testimony whereof witness my hand and the seal of the City of Waco this 7th day of June, 2022. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. Love the project. Okay.
So much arrangement. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
You're big time.
All right, moving on to our next item of business. The following resolutions were pulled from the consent agenda and will be voted on separately. The first is Resolution 336. Is there a motion on this item?
I move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
The resolution is pulled. In the presentation that was made at the last council meeting, I cannot in good faith support this resolution, not because I don't believe in the YMCA, and I want you to be clear about that. But I just think the steps that were taken, that the city did in working to keep the Doris Miller facility that we have now purchased and will be repurposing as our community center, another community center within District 1. I think that to take, those assets, in order to clear up and better manage money for their facility, to then come back and request support. And I know we have no financial responsibilities in this. I just think it doesn't put a good taste in my mouth, nor leave me feeling like it is something that my constituents would see as a good use of my stewardship. And so I am not supporting this endeavor. Again, let me be clear, not that I am against the YMCA in any means, but I know that the way this is written doesn't sit well with me, and so I cannot in good conscience support it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Please poll the council.
Fairfield.
No.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
Borderer.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
That motion carries. And the next item pulled from the consent agenda is Resolution 347, because we have a card, and that's Dr. Alan Northcutt. Good evening.
Evening, Alan Northcutt, and you should have gotten the handout.
We do.
There was nobody there, so, okay, starting now. Now, the agenda packet says there are no EVs available that would fill the requirements for these trucks, and that is Class 6 vehicles. And actually, I easily found a number of companies that are producing Class 6 electric trucks now, and they're in your handout: Zeus, BYD, Lion, Lightning, Isuzu, and Volvo. So I looked at Zeus, since they show actual chassis as part of their product, and they responded immediately to my email with this quote: "We have a Class 6 chassis designed to accommodate a service truck body," end quote. And that's in your handout as well. So that would appear to be what is needed in this case. Now, I don't have access to the load and towing requirements. That's not stated in the agenda packet, but I think it's very likely that Zeus or one of these other companies will have an EV Class 6 truck that would fit the city's specifications. And I don't see any mention that these electrics were considered in the agenda packet at all. So the choice is whether to just pass this as usual, or to take time and really consider the EVs that are out there. So what's the most important thing? Just passing this, getting it done fast, or getting it done right? And what does the climate science say? Well, recently from the IPCC, quote, "Unless there are immediate and deep reductions paper is stuck. Of greenhouse gases across all sectors, 1.5C is beyond reach, meaning disruptive and catastrophic climate impacts. And we see this, the impacts in Waco already. We continue to have severe to exceptional drought throughout the entire county right now, and temperatures rising over 100 this week. We can't fix the climate crisis by ourselves, but we have a responsibility to do our part. And of course, we don't need a consultant for this. Electrification of fleets is a major step cities can do to combat the climate crisis. So, do we continue business as usual, or do we take steps to start transitioning to electric? If we continue with business as usual, we can look for this in Waco in 2100, an additional 85 days over 100 degrees, 85 days. So I think we need to do our part. I would call on Ms. Palmer, Ms. Bearfield, and the other council members to vote against this now and get an honest evaluation of the electric Class 6 trucks that are out there. I don't think we continue to sleepwalk through the climate crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion on this item?
I move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
I guess my question is, I know when we see the information that's presented and whatnot, I guess my question is as far as time availability and cost analysis, because I know that when we replace vehicles and things like this, we're doing so because we are fighting against time or trying to keep our inventory functional and producing, but I want to know as far as time, what are the differences? As far as cost, what are the differences? We've discussed before that we're working, I think that, and we as a city have done a very good job, in my opinion, of making the transition. No, it's not as fast as everybody wants it to be, but I think that, we are working at a manageable pace because it's unknown. And I think that's fair. But working to electrify our vehicles, working to enhance our solar capabilities in our buildings and things, I think that is what we're on the path for and do. But I do understand that right now, especially when we are purchasing things like this, that it has to make fiscal sense and it has to adhere to a timeline. And so I guess that's my question.
Councilmember, this is Paul Kane, Assistant City Manager. I think the questions you asked are good ones, and I can't answer those questions tonight. And one thing that I might suggest, if council's willing, some of those questions we can answer prior to the next meeting. The other thing I would point out, on the June 21st agenda, our fleet consultant will be here to give their recommendation on our fleet. And that's CST, and their sub-consultant is EcoPreserve, who did the electrification study for the city of Austin for their vehicle fleet. And I think it would be helpful for council to receive that briefing on the 21st and have some understanding of what the market is today for electric vehicles. And I think EcoPreserve will do a really good job of providing that information to you. And in anticipation of that meeting, we can provide you detailed responses to your questions for this particular purchase at that meeting. So we could continue this item until the 21st, if that's council's pleasure.
I was like, so we don't need to vote on that today.
Yeah. You could continue it to the 21st if that's council's pleasure. I would point out that we did issue this in a bid format and asked all vendors to respond, and they chose not to.
Like the homes over here, I know part of our protocol as we order vehicles is reviewing the availability of alternative fuel vehicles, and I'm relying on the information in the package that says right on page 117, there are no alternative fueled vehicles of this size, weight, carrying, and towing capacity available on the market today. Due to the weight and hauling capacities, vehicle downsizing is not practical or advisable. I'm taking that into the context of, because I really respect what Dr. Northcutt brings to this council, and cutting edge. The technology is getting closer and closer and more feasible every day. But I'm relying on your statement here, and I'm supportive of it because it sounds like we already did the work. I'm not sure the guy coming in 2 weeks is going to make any difference, but if you guys are recommending to wait, I'll listen to staff.
If it's council's pleasure in that regard, I just don't have detailed answers to Councilmember Barefield's questions tonight, and if you seek those before you'd like to vote, then we would have to delay it until the 21st to respond to those specific questions that she asked.
So protocol-wise, what would we need to do in order to suggest moving this to next week? Now, since we've already had a first and a second.
Can I withdraw the motion? Is that
Okay. If we have the votes for it, I don't know that we need to delay till next week, but I think just for the sake of getting questioned, if it's important to you to get questioned, would you like to do that?
I really would, and I'm going to tell you why. I just think that if we have the opportunity to look at it all from the, because I want to know about time and numbers. I mean, yes, we all know about the what our responsibility and role is to the environment. This is not that discussion. I want to talk about the timeline. I want to talk about the money. And if there's clarity in that 2 weeks will allow without sending us into a tailspin, then I would appreciate those 2 weeks. If it's something that needs to happen right now, let's get it. But if I can wait these 2 weeks, I mean, I think it would give us a clearer picture because, when we say, and I understand you all have said, hey, alternative vehicles, please respond to this. And if they don't, you don't. I can help you be great. I can't make you be. But, when it says that there are no alternative vehicles and yet every week, Dr. Northcutt brings in something that says, no, here's these, or,
Teresa Porter?
I can't call her name.
Ms. Porter?
But Teresa Porter calls and says, here are these vehicles. Something's not so. So I think in these 2 weeks, let's get it to where it's so. And I mean, and I'm not arguing there. The point isn't whether one's right and one's wrong. The point is let us get all of our information in one space and do this decently and in order.
So I'm relying on staff to tell me, is the information going to be different?
That's
more
what I was going to
holistic
ask
and-
staff. Are we in any hurry to buy these? Will 2 weeks hurt the bid, or can we go ahead and vote on this and then don't we have another vote next council meeting, or is this a final vote?
It's a singular action.
Oh, okay.
So you can.
So we need to.
You can do it tonight, or you can shift it. I think what I would repeat from a prior comment that I've made on similar topics, particularly in terms of large format vehicles, it is not my preference to electrify large format vehicles more quickly than small format vehicles because of their availability. And but if you want more details, we can provide them in the 2 week window. But I think what we'll hear on the 21st is something in alignment with what I'd like to do, which is start small with the vehicles that are more available than ones that are more conceptual. Staff is not going to take any offense if you delay us. Let me just say that clearly. No offense here. If y'all choose to delay, we're going to answer your questions.
Well, I would be more comfortable with council member having her questions answered and
100%.
feel comfortable in voting in what we have to vote on.
I'm okay with it.
So if it doesn't
Can I
hurt.
revoke my motion, or how do we do that?
You can amend your motion.
I'll amend my motion to continue this resolution to the next council meeting on the second June council meeting. Whatever that date is.
Does it need another?
If it needs one.
So do we need to vote to amend the motion, or do we just vote on the amended motion?
Vote on the amended motion.
Great. Please poll the council.
Bearfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Waterroot,
Yes.
Palmer, Holmes, Meek.
Motion carries. And we will move on to the consent agenda, which includes resolutions 337 through 353, except for 347 and 336. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move approval on the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Aye.
Waterroot, Palmer, Holmes,
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move on to ordinance 2022-354.
An ordinance repealing resolution number 2006-508 and amending Article 2, Boards, Commissions, Committees of Chapter 2 Administration of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco, Texas, to add Division 6 Veterans Affairs Advisory Board, providing for the authority, purpose, and membership of the board, providing a savings clause, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for an effective date, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 6-0 council vote on first reading on May 17, 2022.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Please poll the council.
Bearfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Aye.
Waterroot,
Yes.
Palmer, Holmes,
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to ordinance 2022-355.
An ordinance approving the final project plan and reinvestment zone financing plan for tax increment reinvestment zone number 4, City of Waco, Texas, pursuant to Chapter 311 of the Texas Tax Code. Determining the plan is feasible, containing findings and provisions related to the foregoing subject, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance was passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 4-0 council vote on first reading on May 17th, 2022.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Aye.
Palmer,
Aye.
Holmes,
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to ordinance 2022-356.
An ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described as lots 1 through 2, Block 1, Sedgwick Edition, known as 2022 and 2024 North 5th Street, shall be changed from R2 district classification and become and be designated into O3 district classification. Providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 5-1 council vote on first reading on May 17th, 2022.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Any discussion? Oh, sorry. We have a motion second? My bad.
No.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Please poll the council.
Bearfield,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Aye.
Porter,
Yes.
Palmer, Holmes, Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. And we'll move to the hearing of visitors. The hearing of visitors section of the agenda, we allow the public to present concerns or address issues that are not matters for consideration listed on the agenda. Council is not able to respond, but we will listen, ask staff to look into concerns, and provide follow-up. Please provide registration information so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, let us know at the beginning of your presentation, and staff will distribute those to council. And if you can't approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. When called to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Each speaker must limit his comments to 3 minutes. If you're speaking on behalf of a group of 10 or more individuals present, please have those persons stand at the beginning of your comments, and you will be given 10 minutes to address the council. Please note that if you stand in support of a person getting 10 minutes to speak, you're forfeiting your right to speak on them. For any person addressing the council through a translator, speaking time will be doubled. While public discourse is important to the council, we have to maintain order in the meetings so that all persons may be heard and city business may be conducted. So, if directed by me, the Sergeant of Arms shall remove from the council meeting any person who, while addressing the city council or while attending the city council meeting, makes personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, becomes boisterous, or makes unauthorized remarks from the audience, such as clapping hands, stomping feet, whistling, yelling, or making similar demonstrations. And I have a couple cards. The first is Christopher Nolan. Sorry, I'm so sorry, Christine Nolan, I apologize. Good evening.
My name is Christine Nolan. I reside at 3636 North 29th Street in Waco. The reason I'm here tonight is that I want to ask that the City Council change the ordinance and no longer be involved in approving short-term rentals in the city of Waco. Most other cities do not involve the City Council. It goes through zoning. Before I start my comments, I'd like to congratulate Ms. Barfield on her reelection. The night we came to, first of all, we applied for a short-term rental. We exceeded everything that was asked by zoning. We passed zoning, motion Z2214, and moved on to the city council portion. We had neighbors that took issue with us having a short-term rental. They circulated a petition, and comments on the petition were completely irrelevant and not based in fact. They were based on feelings, and public policy should not be based on feelings, opinions, and histrionics. They should be based on facts. I would like to submit to you in the packet, page 174 of the night we came to the city council. You do not have a copy in front of you, but you could easily access it on the website. There was a letter saying that We're not opposed to short-term rentals at other properties in Waco or in our neighborhood, but they oppose ours because of the unsafety to the dwellings around us. There were no legitimate safety concerns cited, no documentation, no studies, nothing. They said that when people come to their neighborhood, they buy the properties as investments. They also said that people who buy and don't stay in the neighborhood aren't invested in the neighborhood, and I submit to you that my husband and I purchased a property in the neighborhood. It does not matter if we're there for 4 months or if we're there for 40 years. We are invested in the community. One of the first things that I did when I moved to Waco on November 26th, I sent an email to the address of record of the person who ran our neighborhood association. It's not an association, it's the city neighborhood group. I got no reply because we have no active neighborhood group. My husband and I recently stopped in to Keep Waco Beautiful just to say hello. They asked us to be chair people or, just kind of wrangle crews at their cleanup events. And my husband has attended that training on behalf of the both of us. So I do believe that we're invested in the community. Whether or not we'll go and follow through on those events will be based on our scheduling, but we certainly have an interest in doing so. Another thing I'd like to submit is an email. When we went in to Keep Waco Beautiful, they said that they would pass on our concerns about not having an active neighborhood association or group, and they forwarded that to the city. And they did confirm that there is no active group, and they accepted our information so we can be contacted if they start one. And I know my 3 minutes is up, but there's already evidence that there was a short-term rental in my property and also a long-term rental. So people's opinions should not dictate what is legal on my property. Thank you very much, and I'll leave these with whoever would like to take them.
Thank you, Ms. Nolan. I believe we just received a handout from Mr. Herring. Mr. Herring, are you here to speak tonight, or did you just distribute the handout? You are going to speak? Mr. Herring, if you would please come on up.
My name is Ethan Herring. I live 1044 Chestnut. I'm going to try to do this without, okay. January 2001, I bought a property. And I've been buying property in Waco area since 2001. 2001 to 2004, I was a trooper here. So I thought it was kind of strange when 1046 Chestnut got condemned after we did Operation Seatbelt. Because I remember writing a city employee a ticket, and that city employee showed up at my mom's house. The next thing I know, her house got condemned. But I blew it off because I was limiting what I could investigate at that time. So they tore the house, they gave the order to tear her house down. So in 2015, I went to Neighborhoods Waco's little training program that y'all recommended, trying to fit into the category. You know, there's a class there and everything. I attended the class, and that's what I went through. And I talked to Mr. Craig Johnson when I started asking questions. It seemed like everybody started disappearing. Ross King, everybody started disappearing, retiring early. So I went to Mr. Craig, and he gave me this list of stuff I need to do, which you all have a copy of, which will be submitted to y'all. Well, I did that. Well, I contacted Neighborhoods Waco. I said, we'll do it, Mr. Herring, we'll do everything we're supposed to do. So, okay. So the problem started. The problem started because the house wasn't finished on May 31st like it's supposed to be. And also I know there was other problems. So I wrote him a letter, the letter you got in front of you. Then I wrote Mr. Roy Nash. You see, that's a response that I sent to him. You got it in front of you also. And then everything I've been asking about, and it seems nobody in the city of Waco can explain to me where this certificate of occupancy came from. It's not in your files, but this also showed up in my banker. It showed up in my banker's office and showed up to me in an email, if you ever noticed. And then also I got kind of strange, you see, after he sent to me, saying they know no money, which that's not true either because I had to pay $2,000 to a surveyor that somebody forgot to pay. So then I went through that, I said, okay, that's not a problem. Then also I started inquiring about my banker. And he no longer works at American Bank. But he got an email in front of you that he got from Neighbors Waco. If you read the email, it clearly says I got to pay them $27,000. Because the city of Waco said that everything was right by the house. So the certificate, obviously, I can't verify. And then I got to pay them $27,000. After arguing with that banker, I can't argue with a banker because you know you lose every time. Because they got your money and you got all the money, so I paid them off. So then I started my investigation. I told everyone I was going to start an investigation. So I wrote a letter. The first letter, okay. Well, email I sent to Miss Jennifer Ritchie, and that got sent back today. I got attacked by somebody. But here's a letter I sent to Mr. Bradley Ford. I'm still waiting on the resolution to that property. I gave a copy of what's been done. It's not done yet. So my question is, who do I file a complaint with? Does I complain with the city manager's office or who do I file it with?
Thank you, Mr. Herring. Next, we have Mr. Robert Aguilar.
Good afternoon, Waco citizens that are watching this presentation. Do you know what systemic racism is? I'll tell you what it is. She knows. She's a social worker. Systemic racism is a hate of people of color, and this system is embedded in the system so deeply that it's often assumed to reflect the natural, inevitable order of things of the organizations such as racism and fear of people of color. I've been studying the city of Waco since I retired in 2008, and my professional conclusion is that systemic racism is a culture of the city administration and some of the council people. Some of the council people are racist. Now, how do I know that? Because the city for over 10 years had a policy that no more than 30% of people of color will be hired and no less than 70% of Anglos will be hired. I got that from the city manager in 2013. And then I got another list and it showed the same thing. 30% only are hired that are people of color. Now that's racism. That's racism. I learned that in social work. And we're allowing that to happen in Waco. And that's been going on for more than 10 years. Now, an example of systemic racism was at the city council meeting on May the 17th. During the public's term to speak, there was a gentleman that was irritated, and he spoke. He was mad about city services. And then when his 3 minutes were up, he said, "I'm not through," and he was allowed to speak for 32 seconds more without the police removing him from the office. That lady right there. Then I got up to speak about the South Waco community not having input into the development plan at the old Baylor Stadium, to which the mayor didn't like hearing. I've talked to him about that. We had no input. Now, folks, how come we're not allowed to have input? If there's going to be a garbage thing out there on 88, you have 4, 5, 10 meetings. If you're going to put a stop sign up here on Lakeshore Drive, you have 2 or 3 meetings. But us, I've asked the mayor and other people, why can't we have a meeting at the South Waco so we can have input into what's going on? What I see is a development that's going to tear up our community. And when you talk about that particular area, you never mention our area of South Waco, which is really South Waco. You're going to put 220 houses there, and then it sounds like you're going to put a private park out there where we can't get to it. And because we don't know, and the mayor hasn't told us. We asked him, me and Armando talked to him. So let me finish this. So my
Please
time
wrap
was
up your comments, Mr. Aguilar.
Pardon me?
Please wrap up your comments. Your time is up.
And my time's up? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I don't want this lady to come and push me out like she did last time.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilar. Are there any council member reports on committees, boards, commissions, liaison visits? Nope. Are there any requests for future agenda items? If not, there being no further business, we will adjourn at 6:35 p.m.